Coach Tony.
Hey, folks, we are back. You're listening to Hey, Coach Tony on ESPN Radio, and this morning we're talking about communications between parents and coaches and trying to, I guess, throw a little oil into that machine and smooth things out. But anyway, we just started talking about how it's a horrible idea to talk to a coach right after a game and for a myriad of reasons. But as I said before we went to break, let's assume that you do have something that's important that you need to discuss with your coach. You know, as I said before the break, I am not suggesting or promoting the fact that you never talk to a coach. I know there are coaches who wish that was the case and would just love it. Communication is vital. So if you have a valid concern, what do you do? Well, we at the Center for Sports Parenting came up with a cool little trick, and it's been slowly catching on over years, and you probably have heard about it at this point. It's called the 24-hour rule. No, it doesn't have a cute little name to it, so obviously I'm hoping you can guess what this rule is. It doesn't take a genius. It goes like this. If you have a valid concern, the first thing you do is you wait 24 hours, do nothing for a period of 24 hours, and then you contact the coach, could be by email, could be by phone call, and you request a separate and specific time to get an audience with him or her. And I'm going to say that part again. You request a meeting. You don't demand a meeting. You don't point out that you pay taxes and taxes pay the coach's salary, and so in theory you pay the coach's salary. You request a meeting. And when you get that meeting, you treat the meeting as if, let's say, the same way you would treat a meeting that you were having with one of your kids' teachers. Because you know what? Really, that's what's happening anyway. Now, by the way, one of my favorite stories about this, during a seminar I was doing down in New Jersey, at this point in a presentation, I had a parent stand up in the middle of my presentation and literally yell out, "This rule doesn't work." Well, just like that. So obviously, I asked this guy to please explain himself, and his response was something like this. I tried this 24-hour rule, so I didn't contact the coach that night. I waited till the next day, but by the next day I wasn't angry anymore, so I didn't even bother to call him at all. To which I said, take a bow, you idiot. You just proved my point. Now, I didn't say that. When I'm doing a seminar, I'm not the jerk that I tend to be on the radio. So I didn't really say that. But can you think of a better way to illustrate that specific point? I mean, that's really the main message in the 24-hour rule. Not only will your emotions calm down and subside to the point where you can have a civilized conversation with the coach, you may find that something that was so important to you, that got you so worked up right after the game, wasn't really that big a deal after all. And, sometimes I wonder to myself how many fistfights or even murders could have been avoided had some folks tried this 24-hour rule. I mean, in my opinion, by far the most important rule in all of sports parenting. I do want to get to some of your thoughts on this. We actually got, by the way, we have the studio lines open at 855-HEY-COACH. That's 855-439-2622. But I did get an email here from James in Monroe, Connecticut, who writes in and says, "Hey, Coach Tony, my son has a baseball coach who never really played at any serious level, and a lot of what he is teaching the kids is just wrong. I have a lot of experience, so I'm not speaking out of turn. What do you do when a coach is teaching your kid incorrectly but insists on doing things his own way?" All right, well, James, that's a great question, and I have a great answer. Volunteer to coach. I mean, let's face it, most towns don't have enough talented and qualified coaches to begin with, so don't feel that you're special. You're in no different spot than a lot of other parents. And you know what? If it's too late to coach, try setting a time to talk to your coach and try to talk intelligently and let him know that you have some of these experiences and that you'd like to help out. Let him know how much you appreciate him volunteering his time and that with your experience, perhaps you can help make things easier for him. And again, make sure you don't sound like a know-it-all and don't be disrespectful, but hopefully that can alleviate your issue. And I'm shortcutting it a little bit, but in the absence of being able to talk to you firsthand, I'm just going to have to go on what I get at the surface level. So, James, I certainly want to thank you for the email. I did get another one in here. This one came in from Joe in Carmel, New York, listening in on WPUT, the ESPN affiliate in Putnam County. He says, "Hey, Coach Tony, I coach at the high school level, and I have one particular parent who just insists on coaching his daughter from the sidelines. Now, it's gotten to the point where this girl will actually go over to the sidelines to hear what her father has to say. How would you handle this?" All right, that's a good one, Joe. Well, the first thing that I would do is I would first of all, I would make it a point in my preseason meeting with my parents. So I'm hoping you have a preseason meeting with your parents. But in that meeting, you need to address a whole bunch of things, including things like coaching your kid from the sidelines. And you should be outlining specific courses of action if and when that might occur. However, if you didn't do that, I would be proactive and I would set a time to speak with this particular dad. And in a calm manner, I would let him know how disruptive this is to the rest of the team that he does this. Now, don't hold your breath waiting for the oceans to part, because this isn't going to get you far. Because for someone to go that far out of their way to coach their own kid, it's pretty obvious that this guy cares mostly about his own kid, to some extent just like the rest of us. So you need to follow some protocol and follow this up with a very specific cause and effect that everybody understands. And allow me to explain. You need to, again, calmly let this guy know that it is very disruptive and that it affects more than just him and his daughter, and that if you see it again, you will immediately have no choice but to pull his daughter from the game. And when you make that, and I'm not going to call it a threat because I don't see it as a threat, but if you're going to lay that out there, and you should, you better make sure that you're willing to do it. Because the first time that happens, again, the first time that dad is coaching his kid from the sidelines and you see it and you don't pull the kid, well, guess what? You've just been neutered like a stray dog, and all your power is gone. And some of you who are listening may think, oh, well, pulling a kid because of what a parent does may be a little harsh. But you know what? For a parent to be that disrespectful to a coach without recourse is an even bigger mistake. At least that's my opinion. And I also firmly believe that that's a message. A dad like that or a mom like that gets that message delivered once, and you'll tend to see that will not happen again. All right. 855-HEY-COACH is the studio line. It's 855-439-2622. You know what? What I want to do is I want to go through that list I talked about earlier. These are the things that the coaches and parents complain to me about one another. But before we do that, it's time for us to recognize our Hey Coach Tony Coach of the Week. Coach of the Week is brought to you this week by Dr. Franco Menta. Dr. Menta is a board-certified chiropractor in Derby, Connecticut, and a graduate of the University of Bridgeport College of Chiropractic. This week, the Hey Coach Tony Coach of the Week, we want to shine the spotlight on Coach Walter Buster Yadich, who's been coaching at Derby High School for 31 years, and with 513 victories, has won more matches than any other coach in Connecticut state history. He's led Derby to 29 winning seasons in his 31 years there, including a perfect 27-0 campaign back in 2000. Now, his Derby teams have won 4 Class S state titles, finished in the top 5 19 times, and brought home 4 Southern Connecticut Conference championships. In 4 seasons, from 99 to 2002, Derby went an astonishing 95 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. Buster was an assistant coach at Derby for 5 years before taking the head coaching job back in 1980. He was honored by the Connecticut High School Coaches Association as Wrestling Coach of the Year in 1999 and was one of 8 finalists for National Coach of the Year in 2007. Buster was also inducted into the Connecticut chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2010. Now, that's quite a resume, Coach. So take a bow. We're all proud of you, and congratulations on being named Hey Coach Tony Coach of the Week. Now, I want to remind you that Hey Coach Tony Coach of the Week was brought to you this week by Dr. Franco Menta, chiropractor of Derby, Connecticut, located at 435 New Haven Avenue in Derby. Call Dr. Menta today at 203-736-0660. Again, that's 203-736-0660. 0660. For 12 years, Dr. Menta has served the people of New Haven County by taking care of infants, children, teens, adults, even seniors. He's done lectures and screenings all over Connecticut, including the Derby Senior Center, the Derby Neck Library, the Ansonia Health Fair, the Oxford Senior Center. He's been all over the place. A true community champion. We want to thank Dr. Franco Menta for all his contributions to the Connecticut community and for sponsoring Coach Yadich as our Hey Coach Tony Coach of the Week. And remember, if you want to nominate somebody for Coach of the Week or Athlete of the Week, email your nominations to me at heycoachtony@gmail.com. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony on ESPN Radio. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.